People often want to know in workers' compensation, how much is my case worth? It's a question that's very difficult to answer early on in a case. Once time has gone by, once you've seen a QME, it's easier to start pinning down those numbers. But there's also a lot that goes into what a case is worth, and that may be a different number than what you actually put into your pocket. So let's back up a little bit. What's my case worth? There's television commercials that play that say, call us and we'll tell you what your case is potentially worth. Potentially your case is worth $1 million. Lord knows. But early on in the case, there's no way to know what your case is worth until time has gone on. So for your case to be worth $1 million in workers' compensation, you're going to need to be pretty jacked up. You're going to need to have a fairly significant injury. The problem is workers' compensation pays out very low dollar amounts. So I would say the far most common settlement amounts in workers' compensation are in the tens of thousands of dollars, not in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Those are simply more significant injuries. So I talked to someone the other day. They wanted to know, early on in the case, the injury was only about a month old. How much is my case worth? And I told the injured worker it might be worth $5,000. It might be worth $1 million. There's no way to know at this point. Conceivably, if you get treatment, you go through physical therapy, maybe get injections, maybe some pain medications, you go through a home exercise program, you're diligent in your exercises, a few months go by, you have no more pain, you're released to work, you have no restrictions, life is good because there's no effects of the injury at all. In that case, the insurance company has paid you some money for your temporary disability, they've paid for your medical treatment, but your case now at the end isn't going to be worth much money because you've completely recovered. And truly, for most injured workers, that's the goal. You want to get to the point where you've completely recovered. The payout's going to be bad, but your quality of life is going to be better. So there's a little bit of value there because there's a potential petition to reopen for 5 years from the date of injury if your condition gets worse. So there's still some value, but not much. So for that same injured worker, maybe the case is only worth, let's say, $5,000. If they completely recovered, the case may be worth $1 million. Conceivably, the injured worker could go get an MRI study. There could be a disc herniation. There might be surgery. Maybe the one surgery leads to more complications. There's another surgery. Maybe there's infections. Maybe there's some significant permanent partial disability that results. There may be amputations, life gets worse, the quality of life is worse, the value of the case goes up rather dramatically. It's because you've lost a lot of your ability to compete in the open labor market. So early on in the case, what's my case worth? It might be worth 4-numbered settlement, it might be 5-figure settlement, might be 6-figure. There's just no way to know. You have to wait. Another thing to take into consideration is that I had a case one time, settling the case. The injured worker was going to put like $20,000 into his pocket, $30,000 into his pocket, and he was frustrated because after all the time had gone by, several years, he was only going to get 20, 30 grand for his settlement. But I pointed out to him that over the life of the case, the insurance company had paid him temporary disability for 2 years. So Lord knows, 70 grand in temporary disability benefits. They had paid for all of his medical treatment so far. Let's say they paid another $50,000, $100,000 in medical treatment. They've paid permanent partial disability advances as well to him. So they had already advanced out, say, another $40,000 in permanent partial disability. So they may have paid out $200,000 on his claim, but he was only going to walk away with a check in his pocket for, let's say, $20,000 because there wasn't much future medical care that was going to be needed. He was frustrated because he was only getting 20 grand, but in reality, he had received the benefit of 200,000. So that goes into the calculation as well. When you're saying, what is my case worth? What the insurance company pays to you over the life of your case and what the insurance company pays for you, the medical treatment over the life of your case, may not be a check that ends up in your pocket at the end of your case. So that workers' compensation case, it was worth $250,000. That's how much the insurance company paid out. And that's what my client got as a benefit over the life of the case. But he only walked away with a check for, let's say, $20,000, $30,000. So there's a lot that goes into it. What is my case worth? It's a complicated question, very difficult to pin down early on. You really need to take some time, figure out what the doctors are recommending, what the QME is recommending, the level of permanent partial disability, anticipated future medical care, whether you're going to close out your future medical care or not. And then if you're going to talk what's the case worth, you also need to take into consideration, at least if you're trying to balance those things, how much the insurance company has paid out versus what you're walking away with. And if you're keeping future medical care open, that's not a check that ends up in your pocket, but that's of value to you because the insurance company remains liable for any medical treatment going forward that's reasonable and necessary to cure or relieve the effects of the injury. There's a lot that goes into it. Not a simple question. If you have questions about this video, drop us a comment down below. And if you liked the video, hit the like button.